happy to have you with us. Let me give a little formal introduction. Mr. Gianluca Fiorelli, he's a Moz Associate, State of Digital Blogger, and founder of the Inbounder Conference. Gianluca Fiorelli started his adventure as an SEO in 2004 after more than 10 years working in the TV and movie industry.
Yeah, but that would be a really long story.
Strategist by nature, lover of discovering apparently impossible connections between things and facts, Gianluca has specialized himself as an international and strategic SEO. And I think there is nothing but strategy when it comes to international SEO. And we
Yes,
see that every day with so many international visitors coming to our site here at Page One Power. So we definitely value those who have the experience and know those strategies. Um, he's going to be presenting Deconstructing Google, the 2016 edition, which we always love an updated edition. So take it away. The floor is yours.
yes, thank you. So let me share my screen. I was sharing all my screen. What is share this?
There we go. We have the switch happening. Looks fantastic. We can all see that.
Okay, fantastic. So, deconstructing Google, the 2016 edition is because back somehow 3, 4 years ago, before Hummingbird, I wrote a post on State of Digital, which was exactly with the same title. So I like it, and let's do the update. And I would like to start with a question for all the listener. Who doesn't dream to be a Jedi? I mean, I love to be a Jedi, but if I have to really look at my skills, I'm more like Mothma. I'm more like a strategist because I like to dig into things, investigate them. Uh, I like to create connection between, as was told in the presentation, also between not apparently linked things. And like Google, I love to find answer, especially answer to difficult question. Uh, Maybe this is why I evolved as a strategist, SEO, during the years, and right now I work more as a consultant instead of hands-on SEO. If we look to Google, when I look to Google, I look to this sort of Google expanded universe where we have patents, we have rumors, propaganda, we have Twitter chat, Google Plus chat, office hours videos, etc., etc., etc. And this is obviously when you start collecting information from such a wide range of sources, you can always risk to create fantastic theories which are really enticing and exciting, but like the one of Jar Jar Binks as a Force user, are really, really weird and not real at all. You start falling in some sort of a conspiranoic theories. But I do this because if not, for me, as for many SEO, the Google timeline would be somehow simple, something like this: a sequence of updates, mostly of them penalization, and you know, foods by Google like the HTTPS, remove get done, etc., etc., etc. Instead, if I had to this timeline all the information that I retrieve from my sources, my vision of Google becomes more complex and surely more interesting. For
Gianluca,
instance,
let me interrupt real quick. I apologize. It looks like we might be stuck, frozen on the first slide, and let me have you just switch back to your cam and then back to your shared screen. There we go.
okay,
Everybody, we'll wait for that to refresh on the feed. See if that comes through. I'm seeing it on my end, but for some reason our audience, there it is. There's our refresh.
Okay.
Apologize for that, but looks
So
like
now again, having feedback from my audience to
coming
see
back.
if I see my screen.
Looks great on my end. Just waiting for the feed to refresh for the audience. Fantastic.
Okay.
We are good. Everybody can see that.
So I came back to a couple of slides that were frozen off. So which are these one? Well, this is the expanded universe of sources about Google that I usually analyze, read, explore in order to understand what Google is really doing. Obviously, as I was telling, the risks are present because you can start creating fantasy conspiration and being entering in deep paranoia about Google. But this is important, as I was telling, because if not, I would have just a really simple timeline of the evolution of Google. And sincerely, this is not useful because it's just a sequence of update, mostly of them related to quality, to penalization, and so on, or to foods. I mean, to things that Google wants us to know, like the HTTPS, when mobile get done, etc., etc., etc. Using my methodology, instead, I have a deeper knowledge of what Google is going, and this is giving me hints of what strategically I should pay more attention. For instance, we can see that between 2013 and now, Google bought many companies related to machine learning, deep learning, sensors, and understanding natural language. We can see also patents related to all these topics. And we see how they fit well with the main updates of Google, like the knowledge graph expansion, the Hummingbird, RankBrain, and so on. Also, we can see how Google changed, something that sometimes many SEOs tend to forget, that Google has changed. The head of search is not anymore. Now the new guy is Gianandrea, who is coming from a company which was totally devoted to understanding and machine learning. So with this kind of analysis of the facts around Google, I can understand that machine learning used especially in order to understand better the content published online and semantics are really important, but machine learning and semantics without context, which means understanding also the signals the user of Google are sending when they are doing queries and searching something, would not be interesting at all, because it's interesting for Google to understand what kind of results to show in the context of a user. In 2014, we all remember that the Google algo was changed into Hummingbird. But before talking, I would like to just do a little brief refresher. The algorithm supposes 4 phases. The first one is crawling, when Google collects the information in the internet. Then there is the parsing, which is the phase where Google identifies the type of information, sort it, and forward it to the more suitable recipients. Then the indexing, which is associate sources to words and phrases. And then just the last phase is the really search phase. We usually talk and discuss and blame and want to understand everything about. This is the place of a famous or infamous 200 ranking factors. Is it here where we have panda, penguin, top-heavy, the importance of title tags, the importance of URLs, links, RankBrain too. But my question is, why we have to, if the algorithm is all about 4 phases, why we limit ourselves to just the last one? Let's try to apply simple logic. If Google can crawl a website, and if a website informs well about its meaning, and if a site also responds to the several ranking factors we know or supposed to know, then the website will earn organic visibility. That means that if we just concentrate on 1 or 2 of the phases, our site will be lacking or will not be able to earn all the potential it may deserve for visibility on Google. The crawling phase, I'm not going to talk about this, is the kingdom of technical SEO. I'm not going to talk about this also because there are people like Mike King who are really much better than me about this kind of topics. But he was really right, telling us one of his last presentation that actually there is a sort of technical SEO renaissance, because we see it with all the difficulties that people is dealing with, for instance, Angular, JavaScript, with deep linking, etc., etc., etc. Instead, I'm more interested about these 2 phases, the parsing and the indexing. The parsing is extremely difficult for the algorithm. I mean, it's not me saying this, it's Google itself, and it told it when he was announcing about 4 weeks ago Syntax. It was explicitly telling that the natural language parser is really, really complicated to create, because a simple 20, 30 words phrase can have 100 times or even thousands of different meanings depending on how the words are connected between them. That's why probably Google also created something like RankBrain. I'm not going to talk about how to optimize your site for RankBrain because I think it's really, let's say, silly topic. But RankBrain really fits well in this scenario because it was something that Google needed in order to better understand, especially natural language, especially voice searches. We know that hundreds of thousands of new searches are created every day, and many of them Google wasn't able to, let's say, understand them because it wasn't really able to find a connection between the query and documents you already indexed. RankBrain has this function to help Google offering the most possible suitable answer to new question or question that it doesn't understand. In the parsing, when Google enters in a site, it parses sites and the links, he sends them to the link graph, which is the container of links, and word phrases, meta information, and so on to the indexer. So this is what is the index. This is actually is a v-index. We have words, and to words we have related documents. So if you had a past as a student in university and still with old libraries, surely you can understand it. I'm start having a certain age, so I remember when I was going to a library and I was asking for a book or a topic, and the librarian was giving me a card and sending me to a specific shell in order to find the books that were talking about the topic. Google is practically the same, but on a giant scale. What we tend to forget, though, is that one of the most important things that Google added to the algorithm was everything that we usually define as entity search. We have two kinds of entity search of entities in Google. We have the name entities, which are the ones composing substantially the knowledge graph, for instance. But there are also other kind of entities, which are the search entities, which are the queries we do on Google, the documents answering to this query, the session during which we compose a query, see results, click on results, and so on, the anchor text of the links, the time session, the time during which we are doing a query or doing a session, a search session. What does it mean? That if we look at what are the search entities, we see that context, time, etc., 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 and personalization, history, search history, and so on, are two elements really needed by Google in order to understand the meaning of something, of a query, and hence of the documents related to the query. Okay, let's try to go a little bit actionable. This is what really means semantics SEO for me. Semantic SEO is optimizing for meaning in order to help Google understand better the meaning of our web documents, pages, sites, etc., 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 and so help him in the parsing and indexing phase. I have been lucky to have Umberto Eco as my professor back in my time in university. He was always talking about two different kinds of semantics. The one is the logical, which is all about sense and reference, presupposition, implication, and one the lexical, which is really about the meaning of the words. When we talk about logic semantics, we in internet, we have to talk about structured data. Again, 1 month ago, and let's say that May was a really big month for everything semantics. It was announced with Schema 3.0, which is a really big update of Schema itself, because it presents this kind of, for instance, this kind of new information that we can give to Google in order to disambiguate, for instance, between services and products. We can also use a new type of schema, which is the computer language, which is going, let's say, we can use it in order to facilitate, for instance, in international SEO, when we have to, let's say, do international semantic SEO. Because sometimes this is quite a common mistake when people go international and then use structured data, always use the same structured data for every language. And they forget that maybe it would be better to use Wikidata or Wikipedia data from the Spanish Wikidata information or Wikipedia instead of the English one if you are targeting Spanish markets and so on. One of the main property of a schema is the same as. The same as, I cannot stop saying that you always try to use it in order to help Google to better understand what is the things that you are talking about. This is the fundamental property in order to help Google disambiguate between different entities treated in your document. For instance, if you're talking about St. Peter, what St. Peter is. Is St. Peter the Saint, St. Peter the Basilica in Rome, is St. Peter, which is, I think, a little town in France? What is? With the same as we can help Google understand what exactly is with St. Peter. Again, a month ago, not really a month ago, but quite recently, Google updated also the knowledge graph search API, and the knowledge graph search API are now the best way in order to annotate and organize content with schema. Again, how to why it is important to use structured data and schema. Obviously, because they can help us obtaining a rich snippet. Sure, this is really important because we know that CTR is really important. But it's maybe not the most important thing. The most important thing is because with the structured data, we can really make our website more understandable to Google. The problem with the schema, especially if we use the new beloved kits, the beloved version by Google, which is JSON LD, is that we are going to have a really a lot of code into our website. So the best way to implement schema is maybe using Google Tag Manager in order to fire schema when we need schema. And in order to make schema faster in its painting, if we also use the best practice of web performance optimization, like can be per-render, per-fetch, and so on, this is really going to have the best of both worlds. We are going to have a really well optimized for semantics SEO website, but also we are going to still have a fast website. Again, I remember you that Google has recently changed the structured data testing tool, and it's becoming something more useful because it can allow us to correct directly to make modification, and it's also giving us, helping us with contextual suggest depending on the type of schema that we are using. But when we talk about semantics, we should not forget that, should not think that it is just about structured data. The same HTML, especially the HTML5, is semantic by its nature. A proof was given by Richard Baxter in a recent post. He was telling how to optimize for Google Answer. And let's say this text is not, it's not using really strange things. It's really using clean HTML. The title is in H3. We have the points used with the classic OL, LI, strong in order to emphasize certain kind of a piece of content. What is the result? But that content is ranking in position 0, which is maybe the real new frontier of SEO. If Google is presenting answer, let's go optimize for answer. This also because doing so we can make a jump from our actual ranking position in organic to a position which is above everything. In this case, in this snapshot, you see a jump of just one position. But yesterday saw a jump from position 8 to position 0, which is a really huge one. Again, not only structured data, not only HTML, but also architecture is semantics. Semantics by logically. Ontology, which is all the things related to one thing, sorry for redundancy, leads to a taxonomy, and which leads to a structure. For instance, if we look at the Star Wars.com website, we can see an ontology, series of topics related to Star Wars. We can see the news, blogs, the video, the movies, the TV show, games, community, and the data bank, which is the encyclopedia. The ontology leads to taxonomy, which is classification. The data bank, all characters, creatures, droids, vehicles, and the taxonomy then leads to context. For instance, this is a very long page of a TIE fighter, which is really well done by StarWars.com, because it presents all the possible things that can be used in order to explain what is a TIE fighter. And taxonomy and context leads to meaning. Google really understands what is the page about. And in the case of Star Wars, it understands so well that it uses the Star Wars data bank as the main source for everything Star Wars in the knowledge graph. And it's not using Wikipedia here. This is one of a few examples where we see Google not using Wikipedia. And why? Because the site is really well organized. What tools in order to optimize for logical semantic? Again, the knowledge graph search API usually is a great tool in order to understand what entities are related to a main one. We can use a tool like RelFinder. Let me see if it works. What RelFinder is you can select two entities. Usually they are from two pages of Wikipedia, and RelFinder start finding entities and facts that are relating one entity to the other. This is a really nice tool, especially for finding inspiration, and it's free. One of the few tools that are free right now. If we have to do a more complicated work about entities analysis, is the Alchemy API are somehow a canonical tool, the tool to use. If the job we have to do is really related to big data and semantics, then are existing tools like TextRazor, Aelian, OpenCalais. Just to be a little bit paranoid, all these tools are properties of companies like I think IBM, Oracle, Thomson. To knowing that these big companies are all creating tools about semantics and understanding the meaning of content and big data, surely should put us on alert that this thing that we call semantics is really serious. Lexical semantics instead is all about the meaning of words. That's why I'm stubborn and say that keyword research and keywords are not dead at all, despite of everything many people are saying. Obviously, keywords are not dead, but have changed how we have to work with them. We have to think in keywords and topics. This is how I do keyword research in order to understand what topics may be related to, what keywords may be related to one topic, and in order to discover more related topics. What I do is using Keyword Planner. As a landing page, I take a Wikipedia page, but it can be also a page of a really well done Amazon product, for instance, if you are searching for that kind of information. And then I just let Google to present me what would be the ads group that theoretically I should have to use for my AdWords campaign. And so we can see that related to Lifesaver, we have different kind of suggestion from Google. Lifesaver Dart, Lifesaver Luke, one Lifesaver, which is telling us that people is interested about the specific lightsaber of a main character of Star Wars. But we have also FX lightsaber, which is, if I'm not wrong, an application, and more generic lightsaber replica. Thankfully, there are tools like SEO Power Suite that allow us to do this on scale and not to have us doing manually everything, which should be a little bit long sometimes. And then what we can also use in order to confirm and understand better the topics related to our main thematic, we can obviously use Google Suggest with related searches, but more than for finding ideas for a single blog post that can answer a specific question, in order to confirm our ideas for creating a semantically logic architecture of our site. And recently Moz has launched the new tool, which is the Keyword Explorer, which is doesn't have just this function, this meaning as a tool, but it's really helpful for doing this kind of research too. Obviously, if we are looking for something which is more middle of a funnel or bottom of a funnel, instead of Google, we may use Amazon, which has a wonderful suggest, and we can use a tool like the Six Streak e-commerce, amazing Amazon keyword tool. Instead, if we are searching for topics which may target more our top of the funnel, why not using the social network suggest? I really love the Pinterest one, especially more than Facebook or Twitter. The Pinterest one is really enlightening, because we can see between the suggestion and between the carousel, which is composed by all the tags aggregated about a topic. So substantially it's telling us what people are interested about lightsaber, custom, do-it-yourself, laser sword, art, design, colors. So all information we can collect and then think about in order to create the architecture of our site. Obviously, when we have created the architecture and start creating the content, we have to think about on page. And instead of explaining of all the single on-page factors, I'd really suggest you to recover this. Start to be a little bit old, but I think it's still really fresh post by Cyrus Shepard. And if you have, and I also suggest you to use a tool like onpage.org, which is not the only tool which is able to do a TIF, IDF analysis, also competitive analysis. I know of another tool which is Italian, but unfortunately in this moment it's just in Italian, so it cannot be useful for you. So onpage.org really can help you to understand, to monitor if your pages, if your site is semantically optimized about something. And it's also to understand if your site is performing better or worse than your competitors in this sense. But let's try to move from simple keywords. Keywords are words, and words are substantially the expression of a language, and the language is the expression of a culture. I mean, in Coruscant, people speak different and use different words than in Tatooine. And so we enter in the field of the signals, of the user signals, which should be called semiotics. Usually people in SEO don't talk about semiotic, but when we talk about user signal, this is semiotic. the most infamous one is the CTR. And Google actually published several patents about how to use CTR in order to modify search, etc., etc., etc. This is a quite polemic topic because there are some experiments that tell us that CTR has an influence, maybe temporal influence. On the other side, we have also Google's declaration that CTR can be used for testing in order to test search result pages, but not for really painting the SERPs. On the other side, CTR for me is important. It always was important, but it's more important. If it wasn't important, also why Google was going to give us more space, more characters in order to shape better search snippet. Okay, this is a little bit paranoia, but it's always sometimes it's better to not trust too much what Google tells us. Anyway, for me, the real user signal that matters is the watch time or the dwell time. I call it watch time because it's defined as watch time in the patent that I'm ranking here. And what is telling this patent? Well, watch times can also be calculated for and used to rank other types of content because before it was usually watch time is related to video, but this patent is telling us that it's not just about video. It's about how much time a user is spending watching a content. A content can be written, an image, and a video. It can also be listened to a content if the content is a podcast. So the watch time is not just about video. It's about the engagement of a content. I return back because just to tell you that the watch time is not just about Google. All Facebook new updates are all about this. If you remember, one of the most polemic updates it was of Facebook recently was the more the content is watched, so the more people is spending time on a content, the better that content will organically be presented in the timeline. Signal are also physical signal. If you remember my timeline, we saw also many acquisition of company like Behavior. In this case, was not a company acquisition, but all the team of Behavior was bought and employed by Google about sensor. And this is where the search entities are coming back. The search entities are important because depending on our search history and personalization, these search entities are giving to documents present indexed a probability score, which means, for instance, that links somehow are also semantic SEO. Why? Let's say that I'm searching for something that I never searched before, but few websites that are in my web history are linking to other sites that have documents that may answer to my query. If obviously these documents or website are going to have a higher probability score for me than other documents / website that are not linked by the website that I usually open, explore, watch, read, and so on. That's why link building also has for semantics. Why? Because if we can earn links from website that our audience is frequently reading, and trusting and frequenting and so on, then our website may acquire this probability score, which will make it rank better than others that are not listed in this, linked in this website. It's also meaning that branding is fundamental for SEO. That's why Google is really insisting about being a brand. It's not just because a brand is stronger, etc., but because a brand is, to be a brand, is really making us an entity, substantially. For instance, I founded Venbounder, but when I bought venbounder.com domain name, sincerely, I didn't know that Venbounder actually is a specific figure in basketball. If you search for Venbounder on Twitter, you may find especially tweets by people blaming about Venbounder of certain team, especially in the NBA. So my big problem was, okay, if people is searching for Venbounder, how can my site start popping up instead of basketball sites? That's why I started in the really beginning talking about Venbounder in a web marketing website like the same State of Digital, modes, inbound.org, etc., in order to make people search my brand for topics related to marketing. It's not really visible here in the Google Suggest on desktop, but it's clearly, I'm sure that I was able to have success because in the related searches, Google, when I search for Venbounder, Google now is telling me that relating Venbounder, my conference, to inbound marketing, my own person, and so on. A better example is Trivago. Why do you think Trivago always do this kind of announcing, of advertisement? Trivago Hotel. Trivago Hotel. This is the Spanish version. But this advertisement was cloned in every market and every language. And you always see it. Trivago Hotel in Russian, Trivago Hotel in Portuguese, Trivago Hotel in Italian. What is the result? The result is that people searching for hotel was going to Trivago. So much that now if you start writing hotel, Google directly suggests you Hotel Trivago. This is where search entities, personalization, semantics, and branding all works together in order to obtain this kind of results. And this is all. Thank you.